In Italy, there is a huge difference. If you own a property within the Italian territory, simply because, for some reasons, it could be even more expensive compared to owning something in other countries. We'll see how. These are the players sitting at our table today. IMU, IMU, TARI, TARI, and the most famous one, the wealth tax. The first two are local taxes. More likely, the comune has the right and the power to decide the rates, even by changing those year by year. So please do not base any estimate on previous years, okay? And the tax basis is just the Italian property that you own here in Italy. When I say the tax basis is the Italian property, I'm not referring about the price that you paid. I'm talking about the visura catastale. The fiscal obligation starts from the Z date, and in other words, once you sign the documents in front of the notary. Very often, they're not aware, as a professional, of obligation and deadlines, tax-wise. So you have to remember all these informations when you move forward. As something you have to deal with on the annual basis, it could be very important to understand, or at least have a ballpark, of the total burden in the future. So before completing the sale itself, you may ask the seller to give you some more details about the rendita catastale in order to see and estimate what's the cost of the ownership of this property in the future. At the opposite, the wealth tax is a national tax due on foreign properties only. And this is the reason why the rate is usually a fixed one. It doesn't change over the years, and it can benefit from tax treaties in force. Let's start with TARI, T-A-R-I, the first one on the list, or the less expensive if you want. It's related to the waste and garbage tax on the basis. It's usually a percentage of the area of your property. We're talking about the official one, based on what the planimetry says. Who has to pay such a tax? Well, everyone. Simple answer. Anyone owning rights on the property. Usually you must give a name to the office so they can prepare all this pre-made, pre-filled bill on this name year by year. And it could be also someone else. So every time you decide who's going to be charged, be sure you have really the ability to receive the payment forms. Or simply you can ask to get a copy by email if you want to be 100% sure. As I said at the very beginning, it may change. So don't pay anything just considering the last year bill. Usually they send you a pre-made form to your mailbox. And if you don't receive a letter by the second week of May, I highly recommend to ask them if there is any delay. They don't go after you. It's just the opposite. It's just your own diligence. And if everything goes in the right way, crossing fingers, you're in Italy, you'll never know, you will pay 3 rounds of payment, April, July, and December. Several ways to pay it. F24 form, the most common one, or bollettino postale, or MAV, M-A-V. You can use every way available. Just take a hard copy and go to your bank office or post office. Very often, they do it for free of charge. Now it's turn of IMU, IMU, the Italian property tax due on Italian assets just within certain conditions, or let's say there are a few exemptions. If you own a property, just one, and you move your legal address there, so you're officially resident there, you don't have to pay anything. Otherwise, the tax basis is the rendita catastale. As for TARI, T-A-R-I, you may find it useful to have an estimate of this tax year by year, so you can ask the seller to give you some more details about the property value. Rates are several. They can float a bit from 1% to 0.76%, the same of the wealth tax, by the way. Every year by May, usually, the comune decides what is the rule to be applied, what is the rate to be applied. So you have to take a look at the website, or as usual, you can hire a professional to take care of everything. For this tax, the taxpayer is the one owning rights on the property per share. So if you own 50%, and 50% of your spouse, both of you have to pay 50% of the total to split it. Also, if you buy a property in May, for example, you will have to pay taxes for the current year based on the period of time you own the property. Payment deadlines are June 16 and December 16. Very rarely we saw some extensions, so if you can already take some notes, you can already save the date, 50% each of the total. You must use the F24 form to pay this tax, put in specific codes for comune, fiscal year, and tax itself. Let's finish with a big one. Wealth tax. As you know, here in Italy, you must play with the worldwide principle with very few exclusions. The fixed rate is 0.76% of the property value with the benefit, if provided by the tax treaty, to use property taxes paid in your home country against the gross to be paid here. The most common question that we hear about is, what is the tax basis? Well, it depends. Let's say that a good tax consultant can guide you through picking the lowest number and at the same time an official one that will be safe in case of any audit. The taxpayer is the same of IMU, so anyone owning any kind of right on the property. You pay this tax per share and based on the period of time you own the property. By the way, IMU and TARI are paid for the current fiscal year, while the wealth tax is due regarding the past fiscal year. So this is the reason why the numbers to put are part of the tax return itself, the modello redditi, the RW section. So when you file your taxes, please do not assume anything. There is a specific framework, the RW, made for this. Deadlines are the same for personal income tax, so usually June and November of the following fiscal year. One way only to pay your wealth tax, by using the F24 form. So as a recap, if you own any kind of property, first you must understand what kind of assets we're talking about, where it's located, and if it's in Italy, how it's used. Main property or other cases. Then anyway, you must include the property information in your tax return, the RB or the RW section. Either way, if you have to deal with TARI and IMU, you must wait for the updated rates from the local offices and then move forward with the estimate. If you must pay the wealth tax, before start thinking it's too much to afford, let's see if you already paid a lot more in your home country. Most of the time, there is nothing to pay as difference in Italy because you can offset a lot more. Just think positive, it doesn't cost a thing.